Dust settles faster than gossip, but it never grows a garden. Out here, barren for years but not a single seed settled in my garden, Teaser Calderwood. A lady sighed when the poor parents were selling her to a Whitford Strathmore who's not only rich in money but his wrist veins grew underneath me and filled me with nutrients, said Teaser. The chandeliers at the Santa Fe Grand Ballroom hung like frozen tears, catching every whisper, every sidelong glance. Teaser Calderwood stood in a champagne-colored gown that cost more than her father's last 3 mortgage payments combined, and everyone knew it. The fabric clung to her like shame. Her father, Gerald Calderwood, once owned 4,000 acres of high desert ranch land. Now he owned a handshake worth nothing and debts that stretched from Albuquerque to Austin. Tonight, he dragged her to this charity gala not to donate, but to beg. Or worse, to barter. Teaser, darling, stand straighter, her mother hissed, gripping a wine glass like a lifeline. Fielding Harrogate is here with his new wife. Don't give them the satisfaction. Teaser didn't need to look. She could feel Fielding's smug presence across the room like a cold draft. He'd left her 3 years ago when the doctors confirmed what the family had whispered for months: she couldn't have children. Fielding wanted heirs for his petroleum fortune. Teaser, apparently, was a dry well. The murmurs started before her father even reached the microphone. That's the Calderwood girl. Broken, they say. Barren as a salt flat. Her father's voice cracked through the sound system. Ladies and gentlemen, I come before you tonight not in pride, but in honesty. My family has fallen on difficult times. I'm prepared to settle my obligations in any way honorable men see fit. Teaser's stomach turned. He wasn't asking for charity. He was offering collateral. Ha! Fielding stepped forward, his pregnant wife on his arm, her belly round and triumphant. Gerald, we all know what you're asking. But what value does a woman without a future hold? Laughter rippled through the crowd. Teaser's nails dug into her palms. Then a voice cut through the room like a blade through silk. $3 million. I'll cover the debt in full. Every head turned. Whitford Strathmore stood near the bar, a glass of bourbon untouched in his hand. He was 42, silver threading through dark hair, his frame lean and hard from years of ranch work before the money came. His empire was built on buying struggling properties and turning them into luxury destinations. Rumors said he was ruthless. Rumors said he never lost. He walked toward Teaser, his boots clicking against marble, and stopped 3 feet away. His eyes were the color of high desert rain, gray, steady, impossible to read. She won't be judged anymore, Whitford said, looking not at her father, but at her. Not by you. Not by anyone in this room. Teaser's breath caught. This wasn't a rescue. It was a transaction. She'd been sold again. Whitford wrote the check on the spot, handed it to her father, and turned to leave. He paused at the door, glancing back. Miss Calderwood. My car is outside when you're ready. She followed because staying would have been worse. The Strathmore Ranch sprawled across 12,000 acres of New Mexico high desert, where the land met the sky in a way that made you believe in something bigger than yourself. The main house was adobe and glass, modern lines wrapped in old-world stone, surrounded by cottonwoods and a creek that ran silver in the moonlight. Whitford didn't speak much on the 2-hour drive. When they arrived, he simply said, "You'll have your own wing. Meals are at 7, noon, and 6. The children wake early. Children." Teaser froze. I didn't agree to. You didn't agree to anything, Whitford interrupted, his tone flat but not unkind. Neither did I. But they're here, and they need someone who won't leave. Their parents, my brother and his wife, died in a plane crash 18 months ago. I'm not a father. I'm a businessman who inherited 5 kids and a house that doesn't know how to laugh anymore. He walked inside without waiting for her response. The children were gathered in the great room, a vaulted space with exposed beams and a fireplace large enough to stand in. 5 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Eulalie Harcourt, 12, the eldest, sharp-eyed, arms crossed, skeptical. Cairn Strathmore, 10, lanky and quiet, a book in his lap. Poppy and Clementine Harcourt, twin girls of 8, holding hands like they were afraid of being separated. And baby Sorrel, just 4, clutching a stuffed horse and staring at Teaser like she might vanish if he blinked. This is Miss Calderwood, Whitford said. She'll be helping run the house. Eulalie's jaw tightened. We don't need help. We've been fine. You burned breakfast 3 times this week, Whitford replied. And Sorrel hasn't slept through the night in a month. You're not fine. But you will be. He left Teaser standing there, the children watching her like wolves deciding if she was prey or pack. The first week was a disaster. Teaser burned the biscuits. She couldn't find the laundry soap. She forgot to pick up Ken from soccer practice and had to borrow a ranch hand's truck to retrieve him. The housekeeper, Mrs. Darrow, watched with barely concealed disapproval. Mr. Strathmore usually hires professionals, Mrs. Darrow said one morning, folding linens with military precision. Not charity cases. Teaser bit back a reply and scrubbed the counters harder. Then came the night Eulalie couldn't breathe. Teaser woke to the sound of gasping. She ran down the hall in her nightgown, bare feet slapping against cool tile, and found Eulalie hunched over in bed, lips turning blue, chest heaving. Asthma attack. Severe. Teaser's nursing school training, abandoned after 2 years when her family ran out of money, kicked in like muscle memory. She tilted Eulalie's chin, counted breaths, found the emergency inhaler, administered it with steady hands. Breathe with me, Teaser whispered. In through your nose. Hold. Out through your mouth. That's it. You're okay. I've got you. Eulalie's color returned. Her breathing evened. She clung to Teaser's arm, tears streaming. Don't leave, Eulalie whispered. I won't. By morning, the other children had crawled into Eulalie's bed. They surrounded Teaser like she was the sun and they were desperate for warmth. Sorrel whispered, Mama? Teaser's heart cracked open. That afternoon, she found a note on fine linen paper in her room. Whitford's handwriting was precise, controlled. Thank you. The Alamordo land auction was the social event of the season, a chance for developers, ranchers, and old money families to flex their wealth and stake their claims. Whitford needed to be there. Teaser didn't want to go. You're part of this household now, Whitford said, adjusting his cufflinks in the foyer mirror. People need to see that. See what? That you bought yourself a housekeeper. He turned, something flickering in his grey eyes. That you're not for sale anymore. She went. The auction house smelled of expensive cologne and older money. Teaser wore a simple navy dress, her hair pulled back, trying to disappear. It didn't work. Fielding Harrogate found her near the refreshment table, his wife Chelsea waddling beside him, 8 months pregnant and glowing with vindication. Teaser, Fielding drawled. Heard you landed on your feet. Or should I say, on your back? Chelsea giggled. Fielding, don't be cruel. She's doing the best she can with what she's got. Which, let's be honest, isn't much. No children, no prospects. She makes that house a home. Whitford's voice was quiet, but it silenced the entire section. He stepped beside Teaser, his hand settling at the small of her back, firm, protective, unmistakable. She's the reason 5 children smile again, Whitford continued, his gaze locked on Fielding. The reason they sleep through the night. The reason my brother's legacy doesn't die with him. So if you're measuring worth, Harrogate, I'd say you're standing next to someone priceless. And you? You're standing next to regret. He guided Teaser out, his hand never leaving her back. In the parking lot, she finally exhaled. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. 2 nights later, trouble found her at the stables. Rune van Ulstein, a rival developer who'd tried to buy the Strathmore ranch 3 times, cornered Teaser while she was checking on the horses. He was drunk, his breath reeking of whiskey and entitlement. You think you're special? Rune slurred, backing her against a stall door. You think Strathmore actually cares? You're just another acquisition, sweetheart. Another piece of land he'll sell when the price is right. Teaser tried to push past him. He grabbed her wrist. Then Rune was on the ground. Whitford stood over him, knuckles split, chest heaving. He didn't yell. He didn't need to. Get off my land. Rune scrambled away. Whitford turned to Teaser, his hands shaking. He pulled a silk tie from his pocket, navy, expensive, and gently wrapped it around her wrist where Rune had grabbed her. No one touches you, Whitford said, his voice rough. Not unless I say. Do you understand? She nodded, unable to speak. Something shifted between them. Protection became trust. Distance became something warmer, more dangerous. The accident happened on a Saturday morning in late September. Cairn was helping the ranch hands mend a fence when the post splintered, sending a rusted nail straight through his thigh. He collapsed, blood pooling fast. The hands froze. Mrs. Darrow screamed. Whitford ran toward the barn. Teaser got there first. She dropped to her knees, ripped off her cardigan, and tied a tourniquet above the wound. Her hands moved with the precision of someone who'd spent years learning how to hold life together when it tried to slip away. Cairn, look at me. Stay with me. You're okay. You're going to be okay. She packed the wound, elevated his leg, kept pressure steady until the ambulance arrived. At the hospital, Ken needed 12 stitches and a tetanus shot. He held Teaser's hand the entire time. I want Mama, he whispered. Teaser's throat tightened. I'm here. No. I mean you. You're Mama now. Aren't you? She looked at Whitford, who stood in the doorway, silent and still. Yes, Teaser whispered. I'm here. The children stopped calling her Miss Calderwood. It was Mama at breakfast. Mama at bedtime. Mama when they scraped their knees or had bad dreams. She was no longer a guest. She was the soul of the house. One night, after the children were asleep, Teaser found Whitford on the porch, staring at the ridge where the sun had set hours ago. I used to dream of a life where I wasn't for sale, she said softly, sitting beside him. Whitford didn't look at her. Then don't sell yourself anymore. Stay. It wasn't a proposal. It wasn't a transaction. It was an invitation to choose. The offer came in November, delivered by 3 men in $1,000 suits and government ID badges. They wanted the ridge. All of it. 12,000 acres turned into a luxury resort complex and a federal highway that would cut through the heart of the ranch. The price? $4 billion. Whitford called a meeting in his office. Teaser wasn't supposed to be there, but she came anyway. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime offer," the lead investor said, spreading blueprints across the desk. "You'd be set for generations. Your brother's children would want for nothing." Whitford studied the papers, his face unreadable. Teaser's heart sank. This was what men like him did: bought, sold, moved on. Then Whitford stood. "Give me 24 hours. The men left. Whitford poured himself a bourbon, drained it, and looked at Teaser. "I built an empire on knowing when to let go," he said quietly. "Maybe letting you go is the truest thing I could do. You'd be free. Truly free." Teaser crossed the room and took the glass from his hand. "Love isn't an exit clause, Whitford. It's choosing again, after you've seen everything. You've seen me broken. You've seen me fail. You've seen me barely hold it together. And I've seen you: grief, exhaustion, a man who doesn't know how to ask for help. We're not perfect. But we're here. And that's the deal. So stop trying to sell me my freedom. I choose this. I choose them. I choose you." Whitford stared at her, something cracking in his carefully controlled expression. "Then we tell them no." They did more than that. The next morning, Whitford and Teaser stood at the ranch gates with the 5 children. Eulalie held a phone, live streaming to every news outlet and social media platform they could reach. "This land, this family, is not for sale," Whitford said, his arm around Teaser's shoulders. The children gathered close. "Not for $4 billion. Not for 40. Some things don't have a price. We're building something here that money can't touch: a home, a legacy, a future. And we're not leaving." The video went viral. The investors withdrew. The government rerouted the highway. Life continued. Seasons turned. The children grew. Eulalie started high school, Ken made varsity soccer, the twins learned to ride horses, and Sorrel stopped having nightmares. Teaser planted a garden beside the house. Tomatoes, squash, beans, sunflowers, things that needed deep roots and patience. One evening, as the sun set over the ridge, she stood among the rows, her hands covered in soil. Whitford appeared beside her, a small plaque in his hands. He hammered it into the ground at the garden's edge. The inscription read, "She did not bear my name at first, but she gave birth to the rest of my life." Teaser smiled, wiping her eyes. Dust settles faster than gossip, but it never grows a garden. Folks said barren like a verdict and broken like a bell that couldn't ring. Out here, I learned the truth. Dust only settles where roots are afraid to reach. They tried to sell me for the price of silence, then I met a man who paid a debt and wouldn't name me a debt. Whitford Strathmore didn't plant me, he gave the ground back its rain. His veins ran under this ridge: old water, stubborn faith, and the land I was told would never take seed learned my name. They offered billions to turn our fields into an exit. We answered with a fence plank and 3 words, "Not for sale." So let the dust fall. Let the gossip hurry. It never grew a single thing here. We did. And if anyone asks how a woman called Empty filled a house and a hillside, tell them this: Love is not a contract, it's a season that keeps coming back. I was Teaser Calderwood, once measured by what would not grow. Now look. She lifts a ripe tomato, splits it with a pocket knife, hands half to Whitford. He smiles, quiet and sure. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments, what's something people said you couldn't do that you proved them wrong about? Share your story below. Let's grow a garden together.